One of the most overlooked steps on a Western blot protocol are the washes. Because after all, they're just washes, right? Who cares? I know I didn't. Not for the longest time anyway. And then I figured out I was really wrong. You see, in theory, the blocking agent is supposed to be covering all of the empty spots of the membrane. But there's no way we can be sure that no single empty spot was left on that membrane. The washes are going to be critical to remove not only unbound antibody, but any antibody that may have bound to the membrane or to a protein other than our target of interest. So make sure you carefully perform your washes to ensure we keep that background level super low. All right, here's all you need to know about washing your membrane during a Western blot protocol. First, we're going to keep that buffering system consistent. So if you have been using a PBS-based buffer for your blocking step and your antibody dilution, you also want to use a PBS-based buffer for your washes. Same thing holds true for if you have been using a TBS-based buffer throughout your protocol. Now, a lot of people have questions on, should I wash my membrane after the blocking step? No, you do not have to wash the membrane at that point. Matter of fact, you should not wash it after the blocking step. The only thing you can accomplish at that point is removing blocking agent from the membrane, which would lead to those empty areas where your antibodies can bind and lead to an increase in background. So no good is going to come from it. Do not wash your membrane after the blocking step. You also want to be careful not to overwash your membrane, because not only you may end up removing blocking agent from the membrane, but you may end up also removing proteins from the membrane. And if that happens, that is going to really compromise the reproducibility and accuracy of your assay. On the other hand, do not skip washes. Washes are super important. They will be removing all of that antibody that may have bound weakly to other proteins different than your target of interest. So make sure you wash your membranes. Just don't overwash them. Make sure you use a generous volume of washing buffer for your washes so that you can ensure that your entire membrane is fully covered throughout the washes. A cool little trick to increase the efficiency of those washes is to perform a brief rinse before you actually start the washes. What you can do is you finish your primary antibody incubation, you discard that solution, you add a little bit of washing solution, do a quick swirl, and discard that solution. Then you start your washes. This brief rinse is going to help eliminate the excess of primary antibody that was present on that incubation box before we do the washes. Your washing solution is going to be either TBS or PBS plus 0.1% twin 20. Those solutions are popularly known as PBST or TBST. Notice that we have just a little bit of detergent, not too much. It should be just enough to disrupt any weak bonds between your primary and your membrane, for example, but not to disrupt the strong bond between your primary antibody and your target of interest. A last reminder, never pour your solution directly on top of the membrane. I know the washes are fast and we're trying to wrap up that protocol, but you never want to pour the solution directly on top. Tilt your box and gently pour that solution on the wall of the incubation box until it gently covers the membrane so we don't have to deal with protein detachment. To summarize, once you have completed your primary antibody incubation, it's time to start the washing protocol. We're going to be using washing buffer for this part of the protocol, which is going to be either PBST or TBST. So the first thing you're going to do is discard the primary antibody and add a little bit of your washing buffer, do a quick swirl, discard that solution, and then start 4 washes of 5 minutes each at room temperature under agitation. All of these washes are going to help ensure that any unbound antibody, as well as any antibody that may have been bound to a protein other than your target of interest, are removed from the membrane at that point. That's going to help ensure that we maintain our background levels very low. Once you have completed your washes, we're ready for the next step, which is the secondary antibody incubation, and that is the topic of our next course. But before that, let's watch the video of Sally in the lab performing the primary antibody incubation and the subsequent washes.